Welcome to the Spinoso Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso. My expertise is in scaling all types of medical businesses. I want to help you build your business, take ownership of your life, and become a better leader at home and at work. And as always, we have Miss Amanda May here. So what are we talking about today?
So we're going to talk about something that most people make sound virtuous, and that's being nice. But we're going to dig into the 4 ways that being nice actually destroys business and life.
It does. 100%.
Yeah. So these things that we label as nice can really erode your standards, your culture, your time, and your future when it comes to what you're building in life and business. So we're going to dig into those and get your viewpoint on how being nice is not the way to go.
Again, we're going to get into this, guys, and you'll understand more as I talk about this. But there is a huge, overall, before we get started, there is a huge difference between being kind and being nice. Being kind is what you probably think of as being nice. Being a good person, making sure that everybody around you is taken care of well, whether that's your family or your friends, being there for others, having emotional intelligence in certain situations. That's being kind. Being nice is a misnomer that everybody uses nowadays in that, oh, well, I have to be nice to everybody. No, you don't. There was a phrase that I grew up with my parents is that if you give respect, you get respect. Now, some cultures always talk about, well, you should always respect your elders and stuff like that. Now, an Italian home or a Puerto Rican home, if your elders are assholes, then they get bitch slapped, period. Like, no, absolutely not. You're not going to treat me like this or talk to me like this, etc. And I know that has been a contention with myself and my wife, because in Mexican culture, no matter what people do to you, you have to be nice to older people and stuff like that. No, absolutely fucking not. If you're going to be a dick to me, I'm going to be a dick right back. Give respect, you get respect. And that was a big thing in the prison too. When I worked in the prison systems, the best people were the prisoners because they were the most respectful to me as a physician. Everyone else, the guards, my bosses in the government, etc., they were all dickheads. So again, I felt like you didn't deserve respect. You don't deserve respect if you don't give respect. So I want to cut to the chase at the very beginning, and that being kind is very different than being nice. I'm not nice because I'm going to demand more of people. I'm going to push them past their limits. I'm going to force them to hold themselves to standards, etc. But I'm also going to pay them really well and support them when they need to, etc. That's the being kind part. So getting into it, the first thing that I have made mistake over and over and over is keeping the wrong employee because you feel bad for terminating that person. Maybe it's somebody who has been with you for a long period of time. Maybe it's someone who took a chance on you. Maybe it's someone who you took a chance on and you felt like you could save them. That phrase is just like a bad relationship. You can't save that person. That person has to be able to make their own decisions. So there might be an employee right now in your business, you know they're not performing, you know they have a really bad attitude. I refuse to say the word toxic, but they have a bad attitude about everything. You know they're not pulling their weight when it comes to the standards. They're pulling their team down, but you feel bad, so you end up keeping them. And you end up trying to really rehabilitate them, and you end up trying to make them better. But the problem is you're being kind to that one person, and in the end, you are not being nice, essentially, to everyone else. Because everyone else is sitting around like, well, what the heck? That person gets to do whatever they want, act however they want. We have no standards. We have no core values. They're looking at you to hold that line, and you're tolerating it. So when you tolerate it, the best people in your business are going to see that, and your standards are going to erode. Other people are going to be like, well, obviously they don't really hold their core values. They don't really hold their culture the way it should be. And that's going to affect your business because way more people are going to start to act like that. The old phrase that everybody talks about and all the memes are there is like the one bad apple spoils the whole bushel. And that is extremely true. If you have a one clinic location and one person out of 5 is a bad apple, that is already 20% of your staff. that is a bad apple. If they convert one other person, that's 40%. Almost half of your staff mathematically are against you or don't have the standards that you have. That is huge. So
Totally.
when you understand it, when you have the wrong employee in place and you recognize it, you get them out immediately, no matter how long they've been there.
Yeah. And you can do it nicely, or not nicely. You can do it kindly, but you can still remove people from your business. You don't have to go in. You're a terrible person. Like, you don't have to attack the person. You can let them go. Like, this is no longer working. This is not working. Not a good fit. We're moving a different direction. And so you can still approach those situations in a kind way. How do you separate emotion from responsibility and the decision to let someone go from your company?
Oh, it still sucks. It's still horrible. You're never going to be able to separate emotion from it. You get better at it as you grow because you start to realize that the people that you are letting go are the people who are not going to help you achieve the company's mission, vision, and the have the values that you need in order to do that. That's how you win. And that's how you get around it. Because otherwise, it will eat you alive. At the beginning, you're gonna feel like crap. I still, to this day, have people that I've fired that I just like, can't get out of my head. Not that they were good people, but terrible employees, and not that I regret firing them because, like I said before, there's not a single person I regret terminating. It's always led to something better, more improved, a greater teammate. But it is difficult to terminate anybody, to have them have to figure it out on their own, their next pathway, their next job. That being said, you have to realize again, like we said with keeping the wrong employee, if you keep that person, everyone else is probably affected by that person. Everyone else is talking to that person. If that person has a negative attitude, doesn't fit your core values, then you're allowing a single person to essentially lead your employees astray, to say that the things that you are saying are wrong, to say that the core values that you're saying are wrong, to say that the systems and processes that you're saying as the CEO, as the owner, as the manager, as the leader are wrong. Those people have to be cut out of the business
Yeah.
because you're never going to grow. You're never going to roll things out if you consistently have a manager undermining you locally. That's one thing that Brent and I cannot tolerate is if there's local managers always setting us on fire and causing issues, then that's going to be a problem. And look, we've built multiple locations across multiple states. We don't have a headquarters. And so our business is very different than most people's businesses where they have a headquarters or they have one location or two locations they can drive back and forth to. And what we used to do, which I think is a mistake, and we've had this conversation this year, is tell everyone locally in their clinics to blame it on us, blame issues on us, blame improvements on us, blame things on us, because we didn't want the local leaders to be the bad guys, right? And what that created was a culture of people hating us, the
Mhm.
leaders, and our direction and where we were going in and decisions we were making later on down the line because everybody blamed us for everything. So when we get to the point where we are growing or we need to change processes and procedures, then it's, oh, well, it's Alex and Brent again changing shit. And, they're taking all the money. They only are in it for themselves. This is all about the Alex and Brent show. And that I think was birthed from us trying to be the good person and saying like blame it on us so that we could be the bad guy and you locally could be the good guy, which I would recommend nobody do at this point. And we tell people now, I tell people now, don't do that because it just causes issues and strife later on. So yeah,
Yeah.
if
Give
you're
me
a
an
leader,
example of when
again,
you would have a
it's
conversation to let an
us
employee go,
against mediocrity.
what it would
That's
look like if you
separate.
were
It's
being
us
nice
against
versus
this
what it would look like if you were
disease.
being
That's
kind.
separate. It's us
That's a
against
very
we
difficult one.
against whatever else is
So
out there.
being
And the same
nice
with the
would
client.
be
It's telling
the client
them,
and you
hey, we together are
just
against
and
your weight.
as
We
you get
together are
bigger,
against your
look, you're
unbalanced
gonna have to do
hormones.
things that
So
the lawyers tell you to do.
what you're attacking has to be
And
separate.
that's what we do
from
because
the
the
we,
size
because
we
it
are
has to be a
now.
partnership when
When
it comes
we
to
were smaller,
your
we would
clientele.
being
When it
nice
comes
would
to
be
your
like,
team,
hey, you're
when it
really
comes to your
good at
managers,
this
when
and
it comes to
this,
your
and I
business
think
partner, it's us
this
against
would
external.
you would find a good place somewhere else, or we're moving in a different direction. That's what we do. So we have to do now. Being kind is essentially telling them, look, I don't see that you have your heart in this. I don't see that this is what you really want to do. We've talked about doing this and this. I see that in this position, you're not able to do it. So, like, go find something that allows you to utilize these skills. Go find something that allows you to be happy where you are, because you're obviously not happy here. I think that's the difference between the two, is having a real conversation, a reality conversation with that. And look, I will be the first to tell you that when it comes to that conversation, you shouldn't have it as you grow. You should be a lawyer having it. It should be HR having it. Like, you should separate yourself as much as possible from those situations. Just because, again, legally, you want to protect yourself as much as possible, because your focus shouldn't be on that person anymore. That person did something to land them in that position where they have to go somewhere else.
Mhm.
And so being kind in this process would be ending it quickly and focusing on the staff that you have and moving forward, not focusing on the negative, not focusing on what they could have done to be better. Just being kind to me at that point is moving forward.
Yeah.
Being nice is explaining all the things they could have done to be better, all the things they could have improved upon. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're walking out the door anyways, and you want them to walk out the door. So
The thing that comes to mind is like, I'm sorry we have to do this.
Yeah.
Kind of like, no, I'm actually not sorry. You're
Yeah.
not sorry, so don't apologize.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Like, that's one of the things I thought of. The other thing is this: in Buddhism, it's called the Sangha, which is the group. So when you're working in your Sangha, it is for the betterment of the bigger picture.
Mhm.
So it's more than one person. It's more than, so like the alignment that's created isn't just about something small. It's the vision of the company, you guys cast that vision, but it's getting it's getting the Sangha focused on that.
Mhm.
So that's how that would look more in like the Buddhist structure, but it works because it keeps people focused on bigger picture.
Mhm.
All the little stuff that can take people off track is, what can really hurt a culture. People get stuck in things that they shouldn't even be thinking about, which I think is nice when you say, we're not going to tell you that. It's none of your business. Like, that's also very kind. Like, this isn't any of your business. Like, it's not about being nice. Let me share with you because you're asking me. No, I'm not going to tell you that because it's none of your business. It's actually very kind. It's kind for the person that's involved in the actual situation. It's actually kind to the person you're saying, I'm not telling you that, because you put those thoughts in their head and then they're making up all kinds of stuff that they don't really know or have the full picture for. And it gets them all twisted. Like, why would you do that to somebody?
Yep.
Better to say, that's none of your business.
Absolutely.
With a smile on your face.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is.
You talked for a second about the personal toll that it takes on you when you don't let someone go, like how it eats you up, and explain that a little bit more, because I think people assume good leaders, people who've built something, just don't have those struggles, and it's not true. Like at every stage, you're going to have times where there is sometimes a personal toll that gets taken. What's that look like?
Oh yeah, it's gonna shake you over and over and over when you have to let people go in general. Because if you really want what's best for other people and you want them to succeed, you are going to have a difficult time thinking that this person failed because of themselves. Like, you're always going to think that they failed because of you or something that you did. And the only way you could sleep at night is realizing, okay, well, they really didn't follow the core values. They had this problem or this problem. They caused this problem or this problem. And that's kind of what I can hold on to when I have the decision, and it's going to be better for the company.
and better for the other people. But it is going to create it's going to take a personal toll on you no matter what. And it's going to get worse the longer that you keep a person. We have I have a colleague who is in our mastermind, and she had to terminate someone that she's had for a very long time. And it was harder for her because she said she should have done the termination years ago, but they were a personal friend. And so
Mm.
she didn't want to cut that personal friend out of her business and in the end ruin a friendship. And that's the unfortunate part about being a business owner. And that's why, for the most part, like, I don't think I've ever employed friends. Um, and besides my sister, who, like, I ran her through the ringer when she got hired, I haven't really employed any family or extended family or anything like that at all. Because you have to realize that those standards, no matter who is in your business, stay exactly the same. So there is no like, this person gets favoritism because they're a family member. Now, we talked about favoritism before. They might get it because they do everything that you're saying you're supposed to, but that doesn't mean the family always is going to do that, or your friend isn't always going to do that. So when you guys are getting into business and you want to go into business with your friend, great contracts make great friends, number one. And number two, realize that if anything goes wrong and you end up having to break up with that business partner, fire that person who works for you, etc. Realize that that is probably going to be the end of that. If it's not mutual, which is maybe 5% of the time,
Yeah.
that's going to be the end of that friendship. Period. Be okay with that. And I'm okay with that. That's just how it's going to be. That's life. And in the end, like, I've got two friends maybe from high school, maybe one friend from medical school. I don't think I have any friends from college. I'd have to think acquaintances, but I don't hang out or call any of them from college. Zero. So realize that, yeah, I'm a different person. But at the same time, if you're trying to build something, you need to focus on the fact that if you are going to have friends in your company, if you're going to have family members in your company, they might be the wrong employee.
Hmm.
You might have to fire them. And that might be the last time that you ever talk to that person the rest of your life. You have to be okay with that. And if you're not okay with that, don't hire them in the first place. Don't go into business with them in the first place, period. If you're
Yeah.
not going to be okay with that at the end.
Yeah. Going back to your statement on great contracts make great friends, I think boundaries, structure, system, core values, all of that stuff, that clarity on the front side helps because that's, again, what you can hold people to so that it doesn't feel like favoritism or picking on somebody or, uh, you know, something that feels unaligned from one employee to another. So it's
Right.
just like, this is just how we do it. This is actually good. I'm listening to this going, as I'm building out our teams with stature, our event team and stuff, and, bringing people on that have worked for me in the past. I wouldn't say they are friends in the space of like we go hang out and do things together outside of work, but making sure that across the board, those things are set and it's really clear
Yeah,
from the beginning.
absolutely 100%.
Yeah. Great insight.
And that clarity brings us into number 2, which is being nice is avoiding being direct in the truth because you're protecting somebody's feelings. You are softening your feedback. You're avoiding the hard conversation. You are sugarcoating reality, and you think you're being kind, but you're actually just being nice. You're withholding the actual truth from these people. And the truth actually delivered with speed, clarity, straight to the point, like you said, having those conversations, that's the most generous thing you can give someone. We've talked about it before. People don't show up wanting to fail at their job. They show up wanting to succeed. And so you have to show them what success looks like with crystal clear clarity
Mhm.
when they get into your job. And you have to do that before they get into the job. You have to describe what that looks like, describe what success like, describe what your standards and core values are before they get into the job. Because if they get in and they didn't know, oh, it was this hard, or didn't know we lived by these core values, or didn't know this was the standard, then they're just going to leave, or they're going to feel like they are failing all the time because they weren't trained properly. And nobody wants to go to work feeling that like they're failing all the time. So being indirect with your leadership, it causes way more confusion than being direct and telling people exactly how it is. Confusion will always create dysfunction, and dysfunction causes issues not only interpersonally, but internally with your employees and with your team to where they want to leave. They're going to leave for someone else, and it's not because you're bad. It's not because your company's bad. It's because you didn't teach them, and they feel bad that they're not doing what they're supposed to, or they want to feel successful. They want to be on a winning team. So if they don't feel like they're winning or can win in their position, they're going to go find somewhere else that can.
Yeah. How this translated when I was training in permanent makeup. So I'd have my students come in, and when I'm working with them, I would always tell them, like after we'd walk through the process, I would say, what I'm looking for here is, and I would tell them exactly what I wanted from them.
Mhm.
This is the result I'm looking for. And it created so much like clarity. It was amazing how fast my students would actually pick up the techniques because they knew exactly what, where the shading was supposed to be, where the dark parts were supposed to be, where the light parts were supposed to be, like the
Right.
flow, like they knew it all because I would just describe what I'm looking for here is,
Yeah.
and describe exactly that. And so, it's one thing you can talk about the process and the procedure and how they get there and what tools they use, but if I don't tell you exactly what it's supposed to look like or what I'm looking for to tell you, yes, you've hit the mark and now you can learn the next thing, or you can work on people alone or whatever that is, then they're just making shit up.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, that leadership helps people accelerate to the results that you really want them to get to much faster.
Absolutely.
Gary Vee often says candor. What's missing in conversations is candor.
Mm.
That's a word that kind of used sometimes with how can I be more direct in what I'm saying and clear in this, like just candor. And it can be said in a way that is still kind, but direct with this is what the experience is, at least from my viewpoint.
Right.
I'm open. If you have a different viewpoint, let's talk about it. And, sometimes people will describe something that, okay, I see why you did that. And going forward, we're not going to do that again. We're going to do it like this.
Yep.
So again, creates
Absolutely.
clarity and direction. So it's not like you have to agree with everyone all the time and everything they do, but even understanding from why did you do it that way? So I can help correct so that this doesn't happen again. At least helps me understand the path that you took to get there in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Having that candor, having that truthfulness, is what is going to build the long-term strength and the long-term team. Being nice may make you feel better and may give you comfort, but that's going to be short-lived because in the long run, it's just going to cause more issues. You're not going to be able to grow a big team, run a big team without being brutally just straightforward and truthful with what you're saying. There's a reason why you see the richest people on earth that have the biggest businesses on earth having zero filter. They didn't grow into that. That was things that they had during business. And they're not out there just talking shit all the time. Elon Musk excluded, but the dude's worth $1 trillion and 4 times, 5 times more than this person in second place on earth is. So whatever. But that being said, like you look at those, you look at Elon, you look at Zuckerberg, you look at Ellison, you look at Jeff Bezos. None of those guys, when you see them talk on stage or interview, are fluffing things up or being nice at all. They are super just to the point, truthful, brutally honest, and people take that as like, oh, they're brutally honest, they're mean, they're whatever. No, they have a very short period of time that they need to get their stuff done. They've got so much to do that they're not going to outlive all the stuff that they have projected and plans and stuff like that. So
The shorter they can have conversations and the more efficient they can be, the better. I mean, I was reading Elon's principles to his executives and to his companies, and one of them was send messages or like send information in the shortest way possible. Like if your decision maker is not your direct superior, go straight to the decision maker for something that you need or something that needs to be done, because it will shorten the amount of time that that is done in. And that's all about speed with him. And he says, like, anybody who is trying to block this pathway will get fired immediately, because we are about speed and we are about efficiency here. And so the faster we can go, the more efficient we can be, the better we are, period. And so he has it built into his businesses that way.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really great. How do you balance directness with disrespect or respect, I guess, when you're giving respect or when somebody's direct to you, like,
Well, that's with language. It's with language and how you're saying it. It's with tonality. There's a big difference between, look, I noticed this, this, and this. I need you to do this and this instead, because that's our standard. That's what we're doing here. Versus, hey, look, dumb shit. Like, why are you fucking up? What the hell were you thinking? Those are two completely different conversations, and you're trying to get to the same end result. And obviously, one is going to be much more effective than the other. Period. It is a respect thing. You have to give the respect to get the respect. Whether you're a leader or whether you're trying to talk to your leaders, give respect to get respect. You don't give respect to your leaders, don't expect them to listen to you ever again. And again, same with your staff. You don't give respect to your staff, don't expect them to listen to you ever again. Period. Like just let's just put that out there right now.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had girls in the clinics that, you ask them to do something and it's like sometimes it's just facial expressions.
Yeah. Hemming and
Hello.
Yeah, hemming and hollering, rolling of eyes, things like that. It's like, look, we don't have time for that. We want
Yeah.
people who are just like, yep, I'll do it. Let's do it. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
It's like,
I got this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like you don't belong here. Period.
Yeah, totally. The third thing that we're going to jump into is letting preferences override standards. And we talked about this a few minutes ago about not showing favoritism.
Yep.
So again, going back to the fact that, yes, there are going to be people that make your life easier. And so they may get more out of you or a different version of you because they're like easy. And then you have those pains in the butt that are, you're kind of like, are we doing this again?
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's an interesting balance between not showing favoritism in a way that your preferences are overriding your standards versus just this person's easy to work with. So I'm going to keep working with you because we're getting somewhere together. Where people who are not easy to work with, it just kind of feels stuck. Like the energy feels stuck. It's like we're not getting anywhere here. So that's got to change. So let's dive into a little bit about how being nice versus being kind, how that impacts letting preferences override standards for some people.
Yeah. When you have preferences overriding standards, this is what we talked about, where you'll have favoritism. You'll have people that you might give this to versus that to. And when you do that, it's okay. I want to say that right now. You'll have small things that you can bend the rules for certain people. At the same time, most of your rules, most of the time, like almost all your rules, most of the time, you need to hold standards for. You need to have the same policy for everyone. And we have gotten into this mistake, in Genesis, where we had different policies for different people. And at the beginning, Brent and I thought it was just us being good bosses. People have different life situations, they have different home situations. So people can work and do the things that they need to do in the time that they can do it, when they can help, be a part of the company. It's more on them.
and they're allowed to do it. Now, what we found is that all that does is create strife with everybody, not only with the other staff, but if you ever have to reprimand that person for their specific policy that you gave them, then they hate you for it. And it's the two kings, the king, we've talked about this, the king that allows everyone to do whatever the fuck they want, and then the king that is very strict on the rules and the laws and everything. And as they grow old, the king that's strict on the rules and the laws, you know, releases the laws a little bit and calms down a little bit, and the people love him even more, versus the king who allowed everybody to do whatever the heck they want their whole lives, and then he tries to have some rules and they lynch him for it and they hate him for it. That's what we're going through, and that's what we've been through at Genesis, is that we allowed people to do whatever they want to a certain degree, and then it did nothing but hurt us later on. And so it's harder to wait until that point versus from the beginning have very strict standards and setups for everybody. And it doesn't matter what your home situation is. Like, we'll try and work around that, but we still have standards. We still have core values. We still have things that you have to do, KPIs that you have to hit. And if you can't, then this is not the position for you anymore. And you think you're being accommodating to these people. We thought we were. But what you're doing is eroding your culture. You're eroding your standards. You're eroding your core values. You're weakening your system. And the problem is, good business is built on clarity. It's built on consistency. And life itself runs on boundaries. That's why we have laws and rules and all this stuff, because consistency and laws and rules, they build trust. They build a set of, I would say, repeating standards that you can scale, that everybody understands. And when you don't have that, when you really lean into the favoritism, when you have rules for thee and not for me, etc., all it does is destroy and erode the trust in your staff. And that causes more problems than anything, because those standards that you have that you've broken end up hurting everyone, because everyone sees that. And then you turn around and you try and find out, well, why isn't anybody doing X, Y, and Z? Well, it's because there was never any standards. There was never any, this is how it has to be. It was, you can do whatever you want. And as a result of that, I have this hodgepodge system that is failing all over the place when I actually try and put systems and processes in place.
Yeah, it was like more optional versus standards.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Options create nothing but issues and strife. Like, clear, concise rules and standards will allow you to scale faster and better and with the right people.
Mm-hmm. When is there a right time for flexibility?
Flexibility is healthy when you have an employee or a team member who has lived the standards for a significant amount of time and always been there, and you can count on them, and you know that they might have messed up once, or they might have caused some accidental issue and it wasn't intentional. That's where you can be flexible. Now, the mess up once thing, if it's an integrity issue or something illegal, then that's their last chance, period, no matter how long they've been. But we have been very flexible, and most good business leaders will be very flexible. The thing that ends up causing the termination or the end of their career with you or their end of the partnership is not one thing. It was a stack of things that piled up, over time, and people will look from the outside world or even in your business, and they'll see the tip of the iceberg, it's called. And, the tip of the iceberg is only, everybody's seen the poster, is only like 20% of the iceberg. The other 80% is underneath the water, supporting what's sticking out of the water. And it's the same when it comes to these situations where the other 80% of the reasons why you had to let that person go were things that you overlooked, or things that you maybe didn't even know about. But then you terminate that person, and when they're gone, you find all these things that were happening. And that's what we found sometimes too, is people that we've kept on way longer than we felt and had flexibility, and we thought it was healthy flexibility when we did let them go. there was all this stuff that if we knew about, we would have taken care of long before and long earlier. We have another business owner in Charismatics who let go of her clinic director. And when she looked at what the financials were and what the clinic director was doing, there was tons of free things being given out to the clinic from the clinic without her knowing. Free services, people not getting follow-ups, people not getting services that they paid for. And she had to like clean all that stuff up. It took a month for her to do all that cleanup. But again, she only saw the top 20% that caused the termination of that staff member. So flexibility is important, but you could only be so flexible to a degree if you're trying to build a business that it's going to withstand things later on. Because if you are always flexible, if you're always accommodating, then guess what? You don't have standards, and you think you have standards. You think you're living by core values, and later on you're going to have to replace all your staff because all the staff are not living by those core values, are not living by those standards. They're living by the flexibility that you gave them, which is completely unhealthy.
Mm. It's making me think about flexibility paired with intuition, because intuitively speaking, you might not know why you feel like the person should not be like, you shouldn't keep the person, but you don't really know why. So you're like allowing space for flexibility. But like when you go back, like what you're talking about, where you find all these things, you dig up all these things.
Yep.
It's like there was probably something in your gut that was like, I probably shouldn't let them do this. But, so like it's flexibility paired with intuition.
Yep.
Because when you're using your intuition, you go, okay, this is genuinely like just a singular issue, a one-time thing, whatever. Like, okay, then that feels like a good time to be flexible. But if the flexibility is paired with some gut feeling like something's off, then like follow that path and keep people accountable to the standard. Because if not, later on, then you find out these other things and you go, well, if I had let them go 6 months ago when they did this thing instead of being flexible with them, then I wouldn't have had 6 more months of issues behind the scenes that I didn't know about.
Yep.
So it's like pairing that. And you've talked about this before. You and Brent have this thing where if one of you feels something is off,
Yep.
then you guys don't do it.
100%.
And that's the nice part about having, a business partner that you are aligned with and things are, smooth and stuff, because it does allow you to trust the other person's intuition, even if you didn't send something.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. Making me think of this. Someone that was removed from the company, I have had a feeling about this person and I've never said anything. And I was like, today I was thinking about it and I was like, that would be an integrity thing for me to clean up. We were talking about in a different podcast.
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't I ever say something like something just feels off with this person? I can't pinpoint it, like I can justify it's not my place, whatever. But the reality is I probably should have said like, this is just something that feels off about this person. Anyway, I'm telling on myself.
Yeah.
My mom used to laugh because she's like, I never have to worry about catching you doing anything. You just tell on yourself.
Yes.
You just, as soon as you do something, you're like,
Dude,
I did this thing.
Yeah, Stephanie is the same way. My wife is the same way. Like she is a just awful fucking liar.
Terrible.
Awful
I'm terrible.
liar. Like if we ever have to kill someone and bury them, like I
Don't
can't
do it with
can't
her.
bring her along. Like
Don't take me either.
We're fucked. Like she would not be able to lie. She's totally terrible at it. Yeah, she would feel so guilty. No, absolutely not. Yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
I
If
could
you
kill
guys are
someone
trying to kill
and not
anybody
feel guilty
and you're my
at all.
wife's friends, don't bring my wife. She will tell on all of you. Yeah, she's a terrible liar.
Same. I tell on myself all the time.
But
all
yeah,
the time. Like
yeah,
I did
there
this
you-
thing, or I said this thing, or I thought this
Yeah,
thing. And
it's like, okay,
sometimes
so?
Sean's like, why are you telling me that?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, because I kind of felt bad, but you don't seem to care, so I guess it's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess I'll just figure it out.
Exactly.
But anyway, yeah. So going back to healthy flexibility is pairing that with intuition.
Yeah.
Seems like.
Absolutely.
And boundaries in general protect life and business. And when it comes to making sure that the people that you have around you, so when it comes to being nice versus kind and how that can being nice, trying to be nice can throw you off. Boundaries are something that are very kind for people. How have you seen boundaries help in your life and in your business?
So one of the things that as a business owner or as a leader, you have to realize is that there cannot be a day where you're off because you're the leader. You're the tip of the spear. You are the business owner. You're the manager. Like you have to always show up for your team. And even then, even if you're not a leader, everyone in Genesis has to show up for their client, for the people who are spending their money with us. And just like Disney that tells their staff, this is the hardest job on earth because no matter what, you have to put a smile on and make other people smile when they come in as a member, as a cast member of Disney. You have to do that, period.
Mm.
Like your home life has no business being inside of Disney. And it's the same in Genesis. And as a business owner, it's the same. Like you have to realize that your home life and your team's home life has zero business being inside your company. Now, people are going to listen to that and be like, oh, that's heartless. Like you can't, blah, blah, blah. They're not family oriented, which we've always talked about. If you have family obligations, if you have family issues, concerns, problems, and you ask us about it and you say, I need this time, I need this, I need that, we are more than willing and accommodating. Always have been. But if you don't have that conversation, or if you don't need it, and you just bring issues into the business, upset about a fight that you had with your spouse, so you have a bitchy face all day long and this attitude with everybody, or you're stressed about your home life, so you have this stressful attitude and you're yelling at everybody in the business. Like that's what I'm talking about, separating and having boundaries between work and home. If I have issues or problems at home, or I just got in an argument or a bad, an issue with the family or concern with the kids or whatever, I cannot bring that into work and tell everybody I have this problem, so please forgive me if I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that. Does not work like that. And it's the same for our staff. It's the same for our team. And we expect that. Like we expect you to leave it off the field. It's an athlete way of thinking about things. I have played on teams where the guys fucking hated each other. But in the end, when you step onto the field, you're on the same team trying to do the same thing, which is win. I tell our team all the time, you don't have to go out and have drinks with each other. You don't have to be invited to each other's baby showers or weddings or whatever. But when you walk into this company, you will treat each other with respect. You will work for each other and with each other in terms of teamwork, and you will be accountable for whatever you do that's opposite of that. And do not get mad at us for your repercussions for not living that way. So that's where the boundaries are very important between work and between home life.
That's a really great example of being nice versus being kind.
Yeah.
Like inviting people to baby showers
Yeah.
versus I'm going to show you respect when I'm at work with you.
Absolutely.
All right. So as we dive into number 4, I am so guilty of this. I need to get better here. This would be the area I've gotten better, but this would be the area I think I tend to gear nice versus kind.
Yep.
And that's accepting obligations that aren't aligned.
Yep.
Getting better at what's truly aligned.
Mm-hmm.
But just being a yes person.
Yep.
I'll do it. Yep. I got it. Yep. Because I'm capable.
Yep.
So I got it. I'll do it. And then, after I'm like, oh my God, why am I doing this?
Yep.
It steals your joy being that way. But it's like somehow associating being the person that can do it and do it well and show up and, I got it, do it quick, whatever that looks like. Being that person to me has over the years been a way of creating some sort of value, like being valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard you hear that in business, create yourself as valuable because then nobody will want to replace you. But at the same time, there is also a healthy way about doing that.
Yeah.
And I think I took that on for many years and was just like, I have to say yes to everything so that I'm valuable, so that, you know, they want to keep doing things with me or want to keep having me on the team, whatever. I keep getting more money or whatever that looks like. How do I create more value? And I think that's not a bad thing, but it's doing it kindly versus nicely. And so accepting obligations that aren't aligned. This is going to be a fun one for you because I've heard you talk about this.
Yeah.
You're good at this.
Yeah. Look, at the beginning of your career, you're going to have to accept obligations to do everything. It's good to have obligations to do everything. It's good to say yes to everything, whether it's party planning or extra meetings or social gatherings, because you want to tell people, but focus on going in there, meeting people who might be strategically aligned with you, focusing on growing your business, etc. But as you grow, you need to get laser focused on what you're trying to achieve and your goals. If you're saying yes to events you don't need to attend, or taking on tasks outside your role, or agreeing to commitments that cause issues in your schedule of what you're trying to get done, all it's going to do is hurt you. It's going to hurt your personal life. It's going to hurt your setup. And they might feel small, an hour here for a podcast, an hour there for lunch to pick your brain. But from that time that you spend unnecessarily, that time is taken away. That's the number one thing I keep saying. And my mentor says, no matter how much money you have, no matter how rich you are, you cannot buy more time, meaning more hours in the day. With more money, you can replace yourself in certain jobs. But if you're saying yes to everything, then you're saying no to strategically thinking about your business, time with your family, time working on your health, growth personally, professionally in your business. Those are things you're saying yes to. So being nice is saying yes to everybody to avoid the discomfort. So saying yes is being nice to everybody to avoid the discomfort of having to say no. Because it's discomfort, it's not comfortable to tell a person, no, I don't have time for that. I'm sorry, I'm not focused on that. But disciplined leadership says no to protect the mission, says no to protect the direction that you're going in. And the most successful people I know, what they do every year and multiple times throughout the year is audit their time and take things off their plate rather than just put more things on their plate. And I'm, again, the same way as you, I am guilty of adding things. I could do this, I could do that, I could do this. And then I find myself just before that, why am I fucking doing this? Like, damn it, I hate it. Now I got to do it. And
yeah, because like once you say yes, then it's like you stay true to your
yeah,
word.
because you grew up in a house that stays true to your word. So okay, so this is going down a rabbit hole on this one. But let me tell you something that was taught in my household growing up, but I think is 50-50, depending on the situation. I was taught growing up, if you commit to something, you stick with it. Teaches grit, which is very important. And as I've said, it is a lesson. Grit is the most important thing that as you get older, helps you to succeed later in life. That grit. It will pull you through the darkest days. It will pull you through the times where you don't think you could get up. Grit will help you win, period. So you need to learn it when you're young. As you get older and you realize that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, then it is okay to say yes to something and then later say, no, you know what? This isn't for me. I'm not going to do this. It's okay to do that. And I still go back in the back of my head and say, well, I'm not being true to my word. I'm not sticking to my word. But there are possibilities when I look back in time, where I said no to something because I was being true to my word that if I had said yes to, would not have been a destruction of my character, and might have pushed me along a little bit further. I remember there was 2 teams that went to nationals for the state of California. I played it's called YSL, Youth Soccer League for the USA. And it was a training camp to get like on the US team. And they had 2 teams. And I was the captain of the second team. And I remember, there was someone who got injured on the first team, and the coaches called me the week before the tournament and said, do you want to come play on the A team? And I was like, and I felt like, and my dad said, well, you committed to this team, you're on this team, etc. And so I said no. And I always think about times like that where it's like, okay, well, I was given an opportunity to because of where I was and because of my quality, I got pulled up. And so that wouldn't have been a change in my character to get pulled up to that team and play for that team for that tournament. And I probably would have had a better chance and more eyes on me looking towards playing towards Team USA, etc. And so I look at little situations like that where it's the same now in my career. Like, okay, if I say yes to something and it really isn't going to serve me, then it's okay later to be like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm pulling out. I'm backing out. Or I say yes to something with a vendor and I'm like, nah, this is actually not going to work for us. I'm canceling this contract. Like you have to be able to say no to people more than you say yes to things because it will stifle your growth professionally and personally if you don't learn how to say no. And if later on you say yes, continue to say yes to everything with that mindset in the back of your head, oh, I'm going to be true to my word. Now, fuck that. Be true to your mission, be true to your family, be true to your vision, be true to your core values, fuck everything else. So if you made a decision that is not true with those or not aligned with those, it's okay to change that decision to make it aligned.
Agreed, 100%. This is something I agree with you wholeheartedly. And, it keeps us rigid in our beliefs, but it's like, no, sometimes we gather more data. We have a different reference point. We hear feedback we didn't have. Like as more information comes to us, we may have to just make a different decision because we go, oh, I didn't have all of that data. And now that I have this data or I have this reference point that I didn't have before, that doesn't work for me. And that's an interesting thing. So with Isaac, when it came to sports, I had a very similar situation with him, and he was about 13 and he wanted to play football. So I got him started in football, and then he told me he wanted to quit. And I was like, no, you're not quitting. You're going to finish what you started. And kept that indoctrination moving forward in my son's life. And then he started getting F's in school, and he started telling me he had headaches all the time, and like he was suffering. And I remember sitting down with him, and I was mad. I took him to the doctor because I wanted to see if there was something okay, like neurologically, was everything okay? And I just took a step back. And I was like, what if I have a conversation with him like a human being versus mom, son, indoctrinated, modeled behavior. This is how you do it because this is what I was told you do. This is how people do things. What if I just have a conversation to see what he's going through? And it was like, because this decision to play football was so unaligned with him, he was like, his body was responding. And we had a really great open conversation, and he shared with me, like, it makes me sick. Like, it makes me sick to my stomach. And I know that if I'm not doing it in school, you're not going to let me do extracurricular activities. So I'm not doing my homework, and I'm like, here he is being forced to model this behavior that was indoctrinated from my parents, but isn't serving to him in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. And so like, it was a very interesting thing to experience, and it really shifted my viewpoint on, maybe there are times where it just, no, this doesn't work anymore for me.
Exactly.
I'm just not going to do that.
100%. You're right.
And along those, along the lines that from like a mom viewpoint, which, we're talking life and business, but from a parental standpoint, being nice versus being kind. This was something Sean and I had a lot of conversation around, because I think as kids, we're told to be nice to people. Well, be nice. But especially for little girls, I think that intuitive sense, what feels right, what doesn't feel right, gets clouded, because it's like, well, you should be nice to Uncle Jimmy. But what if Uncle Jimmy creeps me out? Like, what? Creeps me the beep out. Why do I have to be nice to Uncle Jimmy?
Yep.
I don't want to be nice to Uncle Jimmy. But I think like through the years, speaking from the female perspective, women have been told be nice. Like there are men that creep me out to this day that I just am like, I don't even want you looking at me. Like there's something weird about you.
Christian.
Not
He wasn't even
Christian.
listening.
No, he
He
wasn't.
wasn't listening. He's
No.
just like, yeah.
But you
No,
don't have
we
to
just said you were creepy.
like you don't have to be nice. Like you don't have to be nice. I can
It's true.
be kind in the sense that I don't have to be rude to somebody.
Yep.
But I don't have to be nice to you.
Nope.
And that was something that Sean and I agreed on very early.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter. I say Uncle Jimmy. It could be Aunt Sally. I
Yep.
don't care who it is. If my child doesn't want to give you a hug, she's not giving you a hug.
Yeah, it doesn't have to.
She's, I'm going to honor that as like an individual. And I think
Absolutely.
that same level of honoring what is right for her is exactly what I want to take on. She's teaching me like to honor that more with myself too. I was at a conference last weekend. There was one guy that I was just like, oh, I don't know. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
But like even just him coming by me felt like
It's like a slimy
like a
guy.
little like the energy.
Are you
was
selling
just like
skincare
oh.
over here?
Yeah, but it was interesting because everybody wanted to know him because he was, super well known,
Oh.
and I was just like,
I don't like you.
yeah, I don't need to actually have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
That's
funny.
okay.
That's
So,
super funny.
Anyway, being kind versus being nice. I was kind to him,
Yeah.
but yeah, didn't need to sit and chat. Anyway, so as we close it up, this conversation, being kind is what builds trust with your teams, and being nice is what creates the expense of the standard that you set and leads to dysfunction within your team. So making sure that you keep those things in mind as you're moving forward as a leader in business and even in your families.
Be kind. Be as kind as you possibly can. But that is not a prerequisite. It is not required that you are nice, period. Protect your culture, tell the truth, enforce your standards, guard your time more than anything. And really, everyone else's opinion about your life doesn't matter. If they're not paying your bills, it doesn't matter. Leadership is not about being liked. I'm sorry. It's not. Leadership is about building something that lasts and winning, period. You can't lead if you lose all the time. So go out there and win, inspire others, set the standard, lead the standard, hold the standard, and guess what? People are going to follow you because you are kind, but you're not nice.